The House will come to order. The member from Carver, Representative Nash.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I had two things that I wanted to talk about on this bill. I wanted to talk about the fact that the paid family medical is very troublesome for me, and I wanted to point out that in the last iteration of the bill that was here on the floor, I was pretty strongly criticized for recognizing my friend's compassion for people who needed that, but differing in the morphology of my approach to how to handle that. And I spoke to my friend Representative Olson, and I will tell you that I don't offend easily, as many of you know, but I was offended that the majority leader would say that the fact that I differed in how we approach that was somehow bad and verging on personalities, which of course we all never do here. But in talking to a lot of the testifiers that came through state government finance and that came through Ways and Means that I serve on both of those, there were provisions in the bill that Representative Olson put into it that caused problems for a lot of them. I heard from school boards who said that this would cause a tremendous financial burden for school districts if this were to become law. School districts have no way to create money to cover the provisions that are in the bill other than to take it out of the classroom, because they have operating levies that they have to pass into law, and if they were caught straddling a operating levy, they're going to have to pull that out of the classroom. And they urged us to not do that. We heard from cities and counties and townships that said very similar things, that it caused financing problems for them, and they would either have to raise the levy or they would have to cut programs, and they had deep concerns about that. So I think that it's very difficult to embrace that. And again, to my friend Representative Olson, I do see your compassion. And despite the fact that I was roundly criticized, I'm sticking with the fact that I see your compassion for these people who are in need of that. And I am glad that you and I have the type of friendship that we can talk about those things without criticizing one another about how we choose to go down the pathway of addressing those needs. I really do. But the way it's written right now causes so much problem for me, for our members, I think for Minnesotans, for cities, counties, townships, schools, that I can't support that, and I've said that a number of times. There's got to be a different way. And it provides problems also for one of the largest employer in Carver County is a hospital. It's Ridgeview Medical. I used to serve on their board. And I've spoken with their CEO and members of the hospital community, and they just simply have no resources right now in order to do these sorts of things. They've had to shed the elective surgeries for the better part of the last year. That's where they come up with the money to cover the moving parts of running the hospital. And in speaking to the CEO and speaking to members of the hospital community, they are deeply concerned with the provisions in the bill. And I've spent a good amount of time on the phone with them running through the what ifs and the possibilities, and if this were to happen, here's what would happen on our end and would suffer. Here's how it would affect patients. Here's how it would affect nurses and doctors and support staff in all the different departments. And they are deeply concerned by the bill. So I can't support the bill for that reason. So then I would point out to Chair Eklund and Representative Listlegard that the provision in the bill that says that if you are to be an employee working at a refinery, prescriptively you have to be effectively a member of the union. And I've got another example from my district. I've got a company called Laketown Electric. Laketown Electric is just a fantastic employer. They get bigger every year. They do great work. They hire people. They provide sustainability for those folks. But they're not a union shop. Some of those may be some of the most qualified electricians that you'll ever meet. And if they choose not to be a part of the union, your bill says they can't go work at a refinery. And I wonder if Representative Lissegard, I saw him just a little bit ago. Is he in the chamber, Madam Speaker?
He's not in the chamber, Representative Nash.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would Chair Eklund yield to a question? I believe he's online. Chair
Eklund, will you yield to a question?
I'll yield, Madam Chair.
He will yield. Representative Nash.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Chair Eklund, I have talked about this in Ways and Means, and you did sort of explain a little bit of the rationale behind it, but can you help us understand what the prescriptive nature of this provision in the bill is to say that if somebody wants to work at a refinery, that they must be a member of the union in order to go and work there? Can you help us understand it?
Representative Eklund.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, Representative Nash, I don't believe it says that. It means it has to be, they have to be part of a certified apprenticeship program. It is not to make sure that it is a union member, because there are contractors that are union and non-union that have people in apprenticeship programs.
Representative Nash.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And Mr. Chair, is there any other way to receive the status other than to be in the union?
Representative Eklund.
Madam Speaker, Representative Nash, I'm not sure of that. I'm assuming that other contractors, non-union contractors, have their own apprenticeship programs, but I think most of us know in the chamber here now that our building trades have some of the best apprenticeship programs in the state.
Representative Nash.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. But Mr. Chair, and I won't belabor the point because I think that I've made that point. I don't know of there being a way other than to join the union to receive that certification that is prescribed in the bill. And if I'm wrong, I'd be more than happy to be told that I'm wrong. But I have done enough research with people in the area, in the trades that are concerned about this to know that it sounds like that I'm right, and perhaps you may be incorrect on that point. There's a lot of other things in the bill that I cannot support, but I wanted to speak about these two specifically. One, to bring out the fact that this causes great concern for the largest employer in my district, Ridgeview Medical Center, who employs lots of very fine employees who I've served in office for a great number of years and live next door to a lot of them, go to church with a lot of them, see them at the soccer fields and various other things. And for that reason, Representative Olson, I just can't support that provision of the bill. And again, do see the concern that you have for those people and applaud your compassion. And for the apprenticeship program that is a prescriptive, as I read the bill and as I've been told, that's just it's a non-starter. Because if you remember, Governor Dayton tried to prescriptively unionize daycare providers a number of years ago, and that was not something that ever moved forward. And I think people had concern about that, and they expressed their concern, and they were able to stop it. I think that employees like from Laketown Electric who are qualified, that have great skill levels, should be able to go and get a job, and they should not have to jump through a hoop or bow and kiss a ring before they do that. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The member from Washington, Representative Detmer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I just have a very quick message from one of our business owners in Forest Lake, and I'll just take part of his message, and I told him I would share it here on the House floor. And he states, one-size-fits-all mandates do not serve the needs of employers or employees, especially as the state works to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. I compete for employees. A robust and flexible benefit set is critical to attracting talent. Employees are in the best position to craft benefit packages for employees' needs and wants without the state telling them how to do it. These new mandates will discourage work, raise costs, and once again make Minnesota, compared to the rest of the country, as an outlier. And he goes on to just state, please oppose these expensive labor mandates on employers. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The member from Wright, Representative McDonald.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In lieu of the news, I will be as brief as possible. I rise as the committee lead for the GOP minority just to oppose the bill, unfortunately. But I want to say that Representative Eklund and his committee members and staff have been a joy to work with. We had great respect. We started our meetings out with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we were united beginning of every meeting. And we had some differences, and that's okay. It's okay to disagree. We did it respectfully. And I respectfully disagree with some of the provisions in the bill and speak on them today. I am disappointed, though, not one Republican bill is in this labor bill. Not one. As a committee lead, both Representative Detmer and I didn't even have the courtesy of getting a hearing. Someday, members, if I am a chairman of a committee, I will do my best to never let that happen, that we let the minority, especially the leads, have a bill to be heard in committee out of courtesy. That's what makes Minnesota nice. But Representative Eklund and Representative Noor did open up their statements saying that this will help protect workers in the state. Small businesses are struggling to keep employees, and Representative Noor said this bill will help businesses. He said this strengthens small businesses and will give small businesses immediate relief. Well, if that's the case, Representative Noor and Representative Eklund, then why does the National Federation of Independent Businesses, which I've been a member since I opened up my business in 1988, do not support your bill? Over 9,000 independent small businesses of Minnesota have very grave concerns with your bill. So too does the Chamber of Commerce. They have over 6,300 members, and they represent almost every single business in each and every one of our communities. And they too have a strong opposition for your bill. They don't believe it does help our job creators whatsoever. As far as family paid sick leave, it is important for that. Indeed, we all recognize that. Many companies do already offer this. Matter of fact, the cities of Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Duluth have their own paid family sick leave. It's already in state statute. So too does the Federal Medical Leave Act have paid and family sick leave. So to insist that that's not being done now is simply not the case. In committee, one of the majority members stated and said, and I quote, "If we had a magic wand to take care of everybody, we would," end quote. That certainly would be nice. She continued, "These are good policies to protect the majority of workers and the majority of employers in this bill. And then we need to work on the other good policies to take care of the smaller guys." Well, being a gentleman of 5'7", I'm speaking on the smaller guys. This bill doesn't do anything for the smaller mom and pop job creators. It really doesn't. Unfortunately, what it does is it takes a hammer to the smaller guys more than anyone else. It creates a wedge between employee and employer. And it's an absolute sledgehammer on small businesses and our heroic job creators. As Representative Baker said earlier, employers do take good care of their employees. And if that's no more evident than the last year, then we need to get our heads examined. Because this last year was tumultuous for each and every one of us. And yet many businesses kept their employees on and paid them, even though they were ordered by the governor to stay home. And they kept them on. I know this because I've talked to many job creators in my community, from the small meat market down the street to the local restaurant across the street from my studio, to restaurants and bars and restaurants and convenience stores up in Annandale. They took care of their employees. They're valuable members. This bill just continues to hammer more mandates and more cost. Representative Noor, you were very elegant in your opening, and I really enjoyed listening to you. You're a great gentleman and a good statesman. I want you to know that. You did say so, though, in your bill, it's going to cost not more than a cup of coffee. Well, unfortunately, with 24 weeks of paid family sick leave, what that does is it costs Minnesota businesses $2.2 billion over 3 years. And now you know as well as I do, that's more than a cup of coffee. As a matter of fact, 24 weeks of paid leave, get this, that equals to 44% of work days in a year. So think of that, ladies and gentlemen. Your employee will have 44% of work days out of office. How can our employers and job creators sustain a business and build a backup after a tough year? They can't, not with this bill. What we should really be doing, and it's a broken record, you know it, I know it, we need to be passing PPP and unemployment insurance. There's a direct shot in the arm, like the vaccine, right to the businesses if you did it today or even a month ago. That's where they need their help. However, instead of assisting small business owners in the sea of incredible tension and disruption of despair, job creators are awash in uncertainty over possibly losing their business that they worked so hard to do, when they're just asking for a little life raft. But no, the Democrats want to flood them with waves of endless mandates and regulations. It's a darn shame. You know what our job creators need? They need employees. They need to know that lawmakers trust them, that we honor them, that they respect them. And yeah, there's already good laws on the book that protect the workers, and there should be. If there's some bad apples up there, business employers, then by gosh, the politicians need to stop that, and we have. But if you look through your local paper, you will see page after page after page of help wanted. Representative Frankie said that he can't find a cook since November. And that's like that all over the state. And yet this bill puts more mandates and more costly, expensive, onerous mandates upon them. I'm going to read just real quickly from a cousin of mine who works at Zero Zone here in Minnesota. One of a great company started many years ago. They do coolers for Walmart and Costco and Target right here in Minnesota, and they do it from all over the country. They put an ad out, and they were looking for 25 to 35 production workers in the fourth quarter of 2020. To date, they only have one person that they were able to fill that job. They have increased shop workers' wages in an effort to offer higher wages. They offer $25 an hour, plus full health insurance, profit sharing, and a 401k matching program. But yet, they can't fill the position. So we, on the Labor Committee, it was my first term in 11 years to be in the committee, I was thinking that we really would have an opportunity to help businesses. Now remember, government doesn't create jobs. It's not the role. Never should be, never will be. It's up to the private sector to create jobs. But we shouldn't be a stick in the mud, a clog in the wheel, preventing our job creators from being successful. When you take $2.2 billion out of the employers, the job creators, and put them into a fund for paid and family sick leave, that means they don't put it back into their business to grow, which then would, of course, create more taxes for the state and create more employees, more people to work. Unfortunately, we will have to not support this bill. It contains zero provisions that help employers who are struggling, puts onerous mandates and regulations on employers who are suffering at this time. So members, please vote no on the bill, because it won't do anything for our job creators. It'll only hinder them. We needed a life raft for our job creators, not a heavy anchor.
The member from Scott, Representative Albright.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Noor, members, Representative Haley and Bliss, Baker and McDonald, thank you for your comments on this bill. You know, from a business background myself, your experiences should be a warning to the majority for how unworkable this bill is. I want to take a moment to share with you some thoughts on two industry groups that I'm aware of. They consider small businesses and also our hospitals and our healthcare systems. You know, it's surprising. I'll take that back. Actually, it's disappointing that these types of bills would be considered in a year when so many small businesses, which are the very lifeblood of their communities all across Minnesota, having to suffer and struggle to work with this pandemic and the closure orders. The last thing small businesses need is more mandates, regulations, and restrictions forced upon them in order to run their businesses. These folks have been under so much stress for so many months now, just trying to keep their doors open and their folks employed. It's really startling to me that you believe that this is an effective path to help them get back to normal operations. What these folks do need is the flexibility to grow their businesses, not to be micromanaged by even more mandates that fall even on the smallest. This bill has nothing in it to be encouraged about if you are a business owner. And literally, no one escapes these new mandates. And let's be honest about what is in this bill. New taxes on businesses that are created to grow over time, more than quadrupling the wage-based limit on unemployment insurance. Again, small employers who are trying to survive this pandemic do not need new mandates, restrictions, and taxes placed upon them. Now, there are federal tax credits to offset some of the costs imposed by these mandates. But unfortunately, those tax credits are only for a small group of employers. So why is this bill so damaging for our hospitals across the state? Well, for one, the number of essential workers that hospitals and health systems employ is a large percentage of their workforce. That said, most hospitals will not qualify for federal credits. Federal credits help only the smallest and those independent hospitals with less than 500 employees, with caveats. So let me give you an example. Mercy Hospital in Moose Lake employs less than 500 people. But since they're a part of Essential Health, they don't qualify. Many of Minnesota's smallest hospitals are part of larger health systems. So the credits are of no help to them. And even more than that, many small hospitals, while they do employ fewer than 500 people, they own and operate maybe a nursing home or an ambulance service. And all of those employees count towards the 500 employee threshold. I thought it was notable that Representative Haley mentioned that hospitals are suffering from just extreme financial margins. They suffer and have to deal with extremely complex and very delicate financials. I would also note that in 2019, their audited financials found that 41% of them had a negative operating margin. And that was pre-pandemic. Your bill would quite simply be a pink slip in the mail, letting them know their time is up. Members, this bill is another attack on the businesses that are employing and supporting the very people you hope to enrich by the provisions in this bill. This will not deliver what you want. It actually will do quite the opposite. Members, please vote no on House File 1098.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Dabney.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, members. Madam Speaker, I feel an obligation to speak briefly on the day's news. The guilty verdict in the murder of George Floyd by Derek Chauvin is a welcome moment of justice. Dare I say, an unexpected moment of justice, given our state and our nation's history, but welcome today just the same. But I feel I need to caution the body that one court verdict does not mean that we're done with police reform, does not mean that we're done in creating a more inclusive Minnesota, a more just Minnesota, a Minnesota more reflective of all of our neighbors. Our work there is not over. We should not falter. We should not slow. We should not stumble in that work. In the work of justice and in other areas, there are always those voices saying that we should not act, that now is not the time. Now is that time. The events of the last 11 months and the last 10 days call us to do more and to do better. I want to thank Chair Eklund for including my provision protecting servers' tips in his portion of the bill. The pandemic has laid bare the inequities in our society. They were always there. It was just easier to overlook them. We have seen the workers who were laid off first and called back last have often been amongst our lowest paid neighbors. Sometimes the seemingly most complicated things can be really understood in the simplest of terms. Taking things that don't belong to you is theft. We should not tolerate that in our workplaces. The tips that are given to a server or a bartender or whomever belong to them. They earned them, they received them, they should get to keep them, period. I want to thank Representatives Greenman and Zhang Jay for their words on some of the unemployment insurance system reforms. And I want to thank Chair Noor for his leadership of the committee. This body, that committee, and this state really benefit from Chair Noor's lived experience in his community being brought to the fore and brought to the development of his vision and leadership in the Workforce Committee. Our unemployment system should be a thoughtful, balanced system, not an arbitrary one. That system should prioritize maintaining the dignity of the individual who lost their job through no fault of their own and their family. It should recognize and respect the value and dignity of all work. It should not be a system used to suppress wages or restrain benefits. Thank you, Chair Noor, for reforming that system in a number of important ways. If we value the work of hourly school workers in our classrooms, in our lunchrooms, in the front seat of the school bus, we always say we value them. We should show them we value them and their families during the summer months. If we value the dignity of all work, then the age of the worker shouldn't determine their eligibility for unemployment benefits. High school students contributing to their families, paying their own expenses, or saving for college work shoulder to shoulder with older workers, and they should have the same eligibility for unemployment benefits as the workers they share their days and evenings with. And our older workers, those who qualify for Social Security, should receive the full benefits that they have earned and that their employers have paid for. Minnesota remains the only state in the nation that penalizes workers laid off through no fault of their own for receiving Social Security benefits. I'm sure there are those voices who say now's not the time to change, now's not the time to act. But for those employees, those workers, their dignity and well-being, now is the time to act. We should remember, members, that when working families have money coming in, it is they who create jobs as they sustain themselves and their communities through their spending. Unemployment insurance is support for workers, but also a way we sustain our local communities. I do have to remind the body that there's one large missing hole in this bill, and that's funds to support those businesses and communities damaged in last year's civil unrest. I'm sure we all spent the afternoon looking at our phones, looking at our laptops, looking at our TVs, focused on that community. When Minnesotans are hurting and need help, Minnesota neighbors respond. We push strangers' cars out of snowbanks. We take food to the family in grief. When disaster strikes, we stand together and help our neighbors rebuild, wherever they are in the state. When other communities have been in need, we as the state legislature have responded, even coming in special session to pass appropriations to help communities rebuild. Those of us who have small businesses damaged last year, hear those voices talking about how they first were damaged by the pandemic and then damaged by the civil unrest. Many of those small businesses are BIPOC owned. I walked Franklin Avenue and talked to a number of them just last week, and they're hurting. Members, you can't tell me that you support small businesses if you don't support funds to help those small businesses rebuild. Members, I want to thank Chair Eklund, Chair Noor, the committee I had the privilege to serve on this year for this bill, and urge a yes vote. Thank you, Madam Speaker and members.
The member from Traverse, Representative Backer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. If you go on the western part of Minnesota, and you go all the way down from Canada down to Iowa, we no longer have a larger community on the Minnesota side. If you say you support jobs, but what you do is you tell the risk takers who create those jobs, because members, government does not create jobs. It's risk takers who create jobs. So when you create a bill that hurts jobs like this bill will, you cannot say that we are here to support working Minnesotans who work so hard, who just like in prior speeches, talk about the people who provide goodwill to other people. When we export our job creators, you can't create jobs. And that's something that I don't know why so many people don't understand. It's the risk takers who work alongside with job providers and also workers that make Minnesota so great. And when you see North Dakota, South Dakota, and other communities along the border stronger across that border, that is what we need to be focused on instead of these mandates, because the risk takers are the ones alongside with the employees and staff members that make Minnesota great. Another great concern that I have with this bill, the district I represent has six critical access hospitals. And with what Representative Albright said so correctly, he nailed that nail on the head. We have critical access hospitals that are barely surviving. When you only get paid X amount of dollars because of the what medical assistance will pay, 40, 50 cents on a dollar, and then you put additional mandates on the hospitals, what's going to happen with healthcare in greater Minnesota is we're going to vanish. There will not be these critical access hospitals. Quite frankly, we have I have constituents that are traveling miles and miles, 60, 70 miles to get healthcare. That's not right here in Minnesota, where we pride ourselves on such great healthcare system. So when you put mandates on small businesses after a pandemic, they're moving, they're leaving the state. We're seeing that out here. And that's what I'm really greatly concerned. Now, I understand that the chair and vice chair has done what they thought was best from their perspective. I respect that. But when you're out here, it's putting another nail in the coffin. I'm a business owner, and quite frankly, I hear from people saying, well, why do you stay in Minnesota where you can move 1 mile? You can move 1 mile into another state and receive tremendous benefits. Well, I say I'm a Minnesotan. Some people say you're foolish. At the end of the day, these mandates will continue to hurt job providers, which at the end hurt people who want to work in Minnesota. Good staff members. They're just not, you just can't work so hard for all these mandates. And at the end of the day, have government not being your assistant. Government is working against you. So unfortunately, I will not be able to support this from a hospital perspective and from a job perspective. We are hurting the Minnesota workers with this bill. Thank you, members. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for your time and indulgence.
The member from Washington, Representative Franke.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, members. First off, I want to start by thanking Chair Noor for the good time in your committee. I have admiration and respect for you, sir. I'm very happy to serve on that committee. I want to draw one thing to members' attention, and I'm not going to try to belabor this too long on the hospitality industry or anything like that. My friend Representative Baker did a great job at that. Representative Boston and Representative Bliss talked about how a lot of these mandates are affecting small businesses. I do want to tell a little story about myself, members. Some of you might know, some of you are not here to hear my story, but I grew up poor, members. My dad had a good job, union member, working in the meatpacking plant. That meatpacking plant took off, left state, and went out of business. Or they're not out of business, but my dad lost his job. We were on welfare. I worked my butt off to get where I'm at today, to become a job provider, small business owner, whatever you want to talk about, however you want to say it. My issue with this bill is a lot of the mandates. It seems like we are hurting a lot of the small businesses right now, members, and I don't care on which side of the aisle that you fall. We are also providing carve-outs for some of the largest businesses. And you are taking away that dream, because I applaud Chair Noor and others for the money that we're putting into some of the nonprofits to provide training for people to help bring themselves up like I did. But once you get to that point where you own something, members, where I hear about and what I believe in is transferring that generational wealth, no matter where you lie in this state of Minnesota, down to your family and moving that along. Once you get to this point, I want to make sure, members, that we are not taking that away. We are not taking away that opportunity from those people that have worked their butts off to get to a point to where they own something that they can pass along to their family. So I just wanted to bring that to light a little bit. When we're making these decisions in this body, I would ask that we try to remember that, yes, we are trying to save our workers. We are trying to provide for our workers. We are trying to train our people to better themselves. But once you make it to a point, and I'm not a billionaire and I'm never gonna be, but I have a little something that I hope to pass on to my kids one day, and especially right now, members, and once again, you're gonna hear this from me the rest of the session. Right now, sometimes we just need to put stuff on the back burner and deal with it later on. But I wanna be able to transfer that wealth onto my children. And whether they wanna do it or not, right now, people look at me and say, Frankie, why are you in the restaurant industry? I wouldn't want to own a restaurant or a bar to save my life right now. And you know what, members? I can't sell it either because nobody wants to get into this industry. So therefore, I have lost over half of my generational wealth that I hope to pass on to my children and my grandchildren. So when we're making these decisions, members, about these mandates and these things right now, which a lot of them I do agree with, we need to remember and take into retrospect that I think this should be part of the discussion, that we want to give the ability to rise up, have something, and have something that you can pass along. And I always thought that was the American dream that I was striving for. Thank you, members.
The member from Couchiching, Mr. Chair, Representative Eklund.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. Thank you for the debate and comments on our bill. Minnesota workers are the backbone of our economy. Over the last year, they've faced extraordinary difficulties. Many of them have found themselves in terrible predicament through no fault of their own. And on top of worrying about COVID-19, also have worried about how they will put food on the table or pay the bills. Minnesotans work hard, and we're proud of the strong work ethic folks in this state have. While we value hard work, we also need to value economic security Minnesotans count on in exchange for time and effort they put into their jobs. This budget addresses the unique challenges Minnesotans are facing right now, while strengthening the long-term outlook for workers, families, and small businesses. I want to take a couple of minutes to focus on some of the highlights. Earned sick and safe time and paid family and medical leave are two policies every single worker should be able to count on. I want to thank Representative Olson and Representative Richardson for their respective leadership on these issues. We've heard stories about the difficulties meatpacking workers face. It's incredibly intense work, and they deserve to be safe and healthy on the job. COVID-19 has made some of these problems worse, and I want to thank Representative Wolgamont for his work on the Safe Workplaces for Meat and Poultry Processing Workers Act. New and expecting mothers face some roadblocks on the job. They deserve accommodations, and Representative Cagle deserves kudos for her work on this common sense provision. In this bill, we help those who have been laid off in the hospitality industry. We help ensure essential workers can access paid leave during the pandemic. We help ensure that those who work at oil refineries have at least apprenticeship level training. This last year has been tough, members, and I'm glad we're starting to turn the corner. Unemployment is the lowest it's been since the pandemic started, and according to DEED, there are over 100,000 job postings currently around the state. There are plenty of reasons to be optimistic that the worst times of the pandemic are behind us. We will only be fully beyond the economic struggles of COVID-19 when all Minnesotans are truly able to once again succeed and thrive. The investments and bold strategies in this bill will help us reach that vision. Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I encourage a green vote on the bill.
The member from Cottonwood, Representative Hamilton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I can't get my video to turn on, Madam Speaker. There we go. Thank you. You know, Madam Speaker, I had a speech all prepared prior to the recent announcement. And so now I'm trying to get focused again. You know, let's get back to work, right? You know, Madam Speaker, You know, I'm going to first start talking about, we can have disagreements on policy and yet still have respect for one another. I wish everybody had the opportunity to serve with former Representative Tommy Rukavina. We could have severe disagreements on the House floor, and then he would come over and he'd lean up against my desk and say, "Hamilton, you're one of the good guys." I'd say, "Right back at you, Rookie." Again, we can have disagreements on policy and still be extremely respectful for one another. I just want everybody to know that you have my respect. Chair Noor, I want to thank you for your leadership. I want to thank you for, the lines of communication that we've had. I think you're a phenomenal statesman, and I truly, truly enjoy working with you. Same with Vice Chair Zhang. Again, you have my respect, and I enjoy working with you. And I also want to thank Representative Richardson. We have a disagreement on the bill that you're carrying, and you were so generous with meeting with our entire team, the GOP. And after our meeting with you, I was talking with Representative Baker, and I said, it was all of us on that call with her, and that could have been really intimidating. And you handled that with grace and professionalism, and I simply want to say thank you. We're nothing without staff here. And again, Chair Noor, you thanked all staff, partisan, nonpartisan, I'd like to as well. For the Democratic side, Mr. Reese, I want to thank you for making sure that we had all the information prior to the meetings. Mr. Chavez, for you helping us organize, making sure that our committee schedules, and also Mr. Chavez, if you remember, myself and Representative Thompson had a very productive conversation in committee. And he and I agreed to meet in the district that he serves for a cup of coffee. And Mr. Chavez, I know it's like herding cats, but if you're listening, we've asked you to help us coordinate that meeting because I'm looking forward to it, and I want to follow through on that. Madam Speaker, and also nonpartisan staff. Nonpartisan staff, thank you for all your help and assistance too. Our team with Representative Baker, Frankie, Juergens, and Haley, what was really a great perspective is these individuals, they're business owners or they've led teams with businesses. They shared with us firsthand how the different policies and the government shutdown, as far as business shutdown, affected them personally. And, there's nothing more that I could say to reiterate how serious this is. I also want to give thanks to Representative Bill Glenn. Like I said, I had a whole speech here, but again, in light of the recent decision, my head's still there a little bit. One of the big differences, I would say, between the Republicans and the Democrats on this committee, I know this bill really focuses on employees and individuals who are on unemployment. Our message from the Republican side was all about safely reopening businesses and retool and retrain employees. And, right now, especially right now, when the job providers are so focused on economic recovery, we need to move forward with caution, if you will, and not put additional burdens and additional mandates on them that will prohibit or make it extremely difficult for them to recover. And, when it comes to the businesses, leading the businesses out of this and having a clear plan in place, I want to use this perspective. My wife and I were sitting down and watching the evening news here back in late January, early February. And it came on across the news that the Republicans and the Democrats had their plans as far as how to address the business closures and reopening, et cetera. And Representative Baker was interviewed, and he laid out his plan with a very clear timeline with certainty as to when the businesses could reopen. And, you know, it was gradual, it was very thoughtful, it coincided with the vaccinations and also the number of cases of COVID. And again, there was off ramps, if you will, in the event that there was an outbreak. And so it was clear direction for businesses as far as moving forward and giving them some certainty. And in contrast to that, the Democrats' plan was to pay the employees who are unemployed and have the businesses pay those employees who are unemployed. And my wife turns to me and she says, how are the businesses supposed to pay their employees if they're forced to be closed? And I said, dear, welcome to the Republican Party. You know, that was the clear difference between the two. And again, when you talk about the various things about the paid family medical leave, the paid and sick time, the additional unemployment insurance with various expansions, when the businesses are focused on economic recovery, there's many that are not going to be able to sustain that. And I come back to a small business in the district that I serve. I know this individual very, very well. He owns a bar restaurant. He's also a farmer. And he called me here a while back and said, Rod, I'm going to have to sell some farm equipment so I can pay my employees and pay my bills. And I said, isn't that a little counterproductive? You know, the spring is right around the corner. You're going to have to use that to plant. And he said, I went through it, and there's a few of the items that I'm going to go ahead and part with. Some of it was used by my brother or others in the event I needed some assistance, depending on weather conditions and whatever. He said, but I'm going to have to sell it. You know, these are real stories. All across the state are doing this. And again, we need to make sure that not only are we focusing on employees, because we all agree that that's absolutely essential. Businesses need employees. We also need to recognize that employees need businesses too, and business owners. And so, Mr. Chairman, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to support your bill at this time. Once again, I do want to just stress that I truly enjoy working with you and the other members on the committee. And Madam Speaker, thank you for your time.
The member from Hennepin, the esteemed chair of the Workforce Committee, Representative Noor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. Let me begin by stating today justice was served, but the justice that was served will never bring back George Floyd. Think about it. Whatever we do depends on what we do here. Justice brings a closure to so many people. We can do better for the state of Minnesota. That all depends on which direction that we all take. Today, my prayers are with the family of George Floyd. This bill and many of the bills that we will be talking about are the trails that we're leaving behind on how we can find justice for Minnesotans. Whether you're a small business owner, whether you're a worker who's struggling, who's laid off at no fault of your own, providing them the assistance that they need is essential to making sure that we address the economic insecurity faced by many Minnesotans who are asking us to help them at this moment, a moment that they're struggling to find a better job that pays them a family-sustaining wage. They're looking up to us and asking them, when are we going to help them? Whether they're students who are receiving UI benefits because they've been denied at the beginning. They had to go to the courts in order to receive unemployment benefits. Whether you're a Social Security recipient and you're being denied to receive a full portion of unemployment simply because we left you out. Whether you're an hourly worker or a bus driver who's asking for that potential to live that American dream. Members, the pandemic that we have seen, the COVID-19 pandemic, that has impacted all businesses. But when you look deep down, you will see that the big corporations benefited from this pandemic, while small businesses and workers have been left out. You've heard about the K-shaped recovery. When the big corporations are making big, the small businesses are not making it. Members, this is about justice for all the individuals who are asking us to do this work. We cannot pretend we're not helping the small businesses. When you look at the workplace benefits, the paid family medical leave. Look at it, if you work for a big corporation, you are guaranteed to find that from them. More than 20% of the employers, they provide paid family medical leave. But then if you're a low-income worker, if you're a person of color who's working in those industries, look at the data. Look at those who are left out, who are working in the hospitality industry, those who are on the essential workers in different places. Look at those who are working there. Low-income individuals, people of color, indigenous and black, are the ones who are on the front lines. This is necessary to address injustice in our systems because simply having higher income puts you in a good place. In a lower income, it leaves you behind. Injustice is in everywhere. In the economic that we have right now that we're addressing to solve it, and many other places. Members, this week, we sent a helicopter in Mars in another planet. If we dream big, we can do big. If we dream small, we'll do small things. We can do big things, members. We can do big things and show the world that we can lead. The world was watching us today. From corner to corner, they were watching what we do. And this is a moment for us to reflect on what we can do together to address the inequities that exist in our systems and open our minds and hearts to a more inclusive society. No matter how you look like, where you come from, who you worship, this is a moment that we can look inside and say we will address every issue that impacts Minnesotans. Everyone deserves that. I believe we can, and we must, and we will emerge victorious in our future if we build an economy that works for all. Everyone deserves a better place. The time is now to reflect, recommit, reimagine, reorganize, and reboot so that we can do better for all. Members, I ask you to vote green for this bill. It does a lot for small businesses. It does a lot for the workers. I appreciate your support. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker and members.
The clerk will take the roll on the bill. Members voting remotely, please vote. Will the clerk please call the names of the members who have not voted yet?
employers aren't big on that one. In fact, there's a requirement you have to pay.
Jam. Yeah. No. Can you bring them here?
I can read them. I don't know.
I can read them, but then it's different. Oh, it's coming. Excuse thing on.
Right. Oh, okay.
Sorry. Oh, it's not your fault.
Bliss. Bliss.
No.
Bliss, no. Bo.
Oh, no.
Bo, no. Davids.
Davids, no.
Davids, no. Davney.
Daphne, aye.
Davney, aye. Damath.
Damath, no.
Damath, no. Garofalo. Garofalo.
Garofalo, no.
Garofalo, no. Green.
Green, no.
Green, no. Grossel.
Also, no.
Grossel, no. Hanson, J.
Hanson J. I.
Hanson, J. I. Hassan.
Hassan I.
Hassan, I. Hausman.
Hausman I.
Hausman, I. Heinrich.
Heinrich, no.
Heinrich, no. Kosnick.
Kosnick, no.
Kosnick, no. Miller.
Miller, no.
Miller, no. Mueller. Mueller, no. Sandell.
Sandell, yes.
Sandell, aye. Schumacher.
Schumacher, no.
Schumacher, no.
I called Damath, right? Damath is no?
Yes, Steve.
Yep, I called her.
There we go.
There we go.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 69 ayes and 64 nays, the bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is Senate File 972. The clerk will report the bill.
Senate File number 972, number 1 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to commerce and energy, the third engrossment. Winkler moves that Senate File number 972 be laid on the table.
Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker, members, I ask your support for the motion. This will allow us to take it up at a future time.
Representative Winkler moves to lay the bill on the table. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no.
No.
The motion prevails. The bill is laid on the table. Motions and resolutions. There are copies of the non-controversial motions at the House desk and online. If there's no objection, we'll take action on these motions first. Hearing no objection, the motions prevail. Announcements. Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker, I guess just an announcement. Members, we will reconvene tomorrow at 11:30, and we will proceed directly to consider the bills on the calendar. We will not be recessing for caucus. So, Madam Speaker, I move that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 11:30 a.m. Wednesday, April 21st, 2021.
Representative Winkler moves that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 11:30 a.m. Wednesday, April 21st, 2021. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. Were there any further announcements? Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
Representative Winkler moves that the House do now adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no.
No.
The motion prevails. The House stands adjourned until 11:30 a.m. Wednesday, April 21st, 2021.